And it's time now for our award-winning Outside the Huddle feature presented by Premier Service Company, the power to keep you cool in the summer and warm in the winter. Tonight, the subject of high school NIL and how the AHSAA's new director intends to deal with it. Here's Stu McCann.
At the press conference to introduce Heath Harmon as the new executive director of the AHSAA, there was a clear headline.
I know it's going to be a challenging job, but I'm ready to meet that challenge.
Determining a core purpose in the age of NIL does not happen overnight, as Harmon talked about last month.
You know, you want to be progressive, but you also want to protect. What are we protecting? Who's going to manage this type deal, and how are we going to be progressive, because we know that we've got to have a plan. If you look at some of the states around us, they would pass plan, they might even name it NIL, and maybe a month later they're having to go in and amend it.
According to a lawsuit filed in North Carolina last month, 38 out of 50 states have passed legislation that allow high school student athletes to profit financially in one way or another from their name, image, and likeness. And the rules of other states are impacting Alabama high schools.
We were reached out to by an agent who had an offer in hand from a trading card company, significant. It was 7 figures.
Jason-Seaborn is the father of Thompson High School quarterback Trent-Seaborn. The sophomore is a consensus 4-star prospect in the class of 2027. The $1 million NIL offer was contingent on Seaborn's family moving and attending school in a state that allows high school athletes to earn NIL money. The family passed on the offer, and it's not the first time. The same company reached out the summer after Trent-Seaborn's freshman year in 2023.
It was 5 figures the first time, and then it went up to 7 figures the second time.
But that competition there in terms of other states offering certain things and our student athletes choosing to or not, that's a situation that we're going to have to deal with at some point pretty soon, I think.
The AHSAA's amateurism rule does not actually prohibit a student-athlete opportunity to profit from their name, image, and likeness. Any high schooler can market themselves as long as that marketing plan does not include the school uniform, jersey, or logo.
Well, if you're just an individual in a car dealership or somebody wants to bring you down and let you represent that dealership, and it's just an individual not representing a school or anything, from my understanding, our amateur rule deals with basically being representative of the school that you participate in with the gear that you actually wear. It's moving in a different direction at this point. I think in the next few years, that's something that we're going to have to look at.
There's already been significant movement. Midway through last season, the AHSAA allowed student-athletes to receive gift cards for food-only purchases, and there doesn't seem to be a limit on how much the gift cards can be worth. The AHSAA has also raised its limit on gifts players can receive when attending all-star and college prospect camps. For example, previously, the shoes and clothes received at a camp sponsored by Nike or Under Armour was limited to $250. That number is now $1,200.
You might go to a camp and they might have a certain thing where they give shoes. Well, if you looked at the initial amount, which I think was $250, now you're lucky to find the kind of shoes that they're wanting to give.
All of the adjustments are wins for high school athletes, but are those short-term gains increasing the potential for a bigger risk?
If it moves to the middle schools and the Pee Wee levels and park ball and all of that, now that affects the interscholastic level. So not only how fast things are moving in terms of that, but what levels and how soon will it be at those levels?
You know, you start running into the risk of it being a tool used for, illegal high school recruiting, where one school with a whole lot of money in the community just starts, scooping up all these players and enticing them with, hey, you're going to get all this money if you come over here. And that, if that takes place on a wide scale, I think, can ruin what is really the last area where the sport is still somewhat pure.
Trent-Seaborn's 7-figure NIL offer is likely never to be the norm, and his dad thinks that may be as big an issue going forward as the differing rules and legislation from state to state.
You've got a very, very tiny percentage of kids that are going to get money out of it, but it ends up ruining it for the vast majority of other kids. How does that square?